A $125 million Tourism Australia campaign is calling on international tourists to hop back over to our shores. The new ads feature Ruby the Roo, voiced by Aussie actress Rose Byrne. But how do they stack up against the iconic advertisements of years past? Joining me live is Jules Hall, CEO of the Hallway Agency, one of the advertising firms behind some big tourism campaigns in recent years. Thanks very much for your time. Why don't we just start with giving our viewers a little preview of Ruby the Roo trying to attract visitors to our shores.
G'day, my name is Freddie.
Wow, there's nothing like Australia.
Special, huh?
It would make a great movie.
So what are you waiting for? Come and say g'day.
We come from a land down under.
The latest attempt we have of trying to get people back. I remember it's sort of post-COVID and wanting to get people back on planes. Is Ruby the Roo going to work?
Well, it ticks a few of the marketing boxes. One of the challenges with tourism marketing is you've got to talk to multiple markets. So this ad's running, as I understand it, across 15 different markets. So there's a few tricks that they've lent into. They've used the two characters, Ruby and Louie. And when you use characters, it's very easy to create narrative and tell a story. And that makes it, advertising is all about making people notice your destination and then remember it when they get to the moment of booking. So they've used the characters really nicely. They've tapped into a bit of nostalgia. So the Come and Say Good Day campaign line is actually the same line as the very famous 1984 campaign with Paul Hogan. And then, of course, we've got the soundtrack, which is the remix of the famous Men at Work song Down Under, which was, of course, the marching tune for the famous America's Cup winning team back in 1983. So they've, of course, then behind that, you've got the necessity for showing Australian experiences and the vistas and the beautiful things. So there's a few components that are working in there, and it should work pretty well.
I guess that's a tricky thing. You've got to capture imagination in these advertisements. And for Australia, for a lot of people, you've got to convince them to get on a plane or two and spend 20 hours in transit. So it's got to be exciting, but also generic enough to appeal to all these different markets. So not being bland is difficult when you're trying to achieve generic.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. And that 1984 campaign with Paul Hogan, if you remember it, it's where the famous line, throw a shrimp on the barbie, came from. That campaign was designed just for the American market. And when you do that, you can play with the two cultures. So there's some beautiful scenes in there. At one point, he's on top of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and he looks down, there's a cruise ship coming. He goes, look, there's a bunch of you blokes, guys, coming in now. Plane flies over, and it's, oh, and there's more of you on that one. And he's able to play with the American, Australian cultural nuances. You can't do that when you've got 15 markets. So you lose that layer, and you've got to replace it with something else.
Let's go quickly to a couple of the well-known ones. You mentioned Paul Hogan and, of course, Lara Bingle as well.
We turned on the lights. And we've been rehearsing for over 40,000 years.
So where the bloody hell are you?
G'day. Thought I might be able to see America from up here. You're just across the Pacific, you know. Hello. Looks like a boatload of your countrymen coming in there now. Right. And a plane load. Better fill the icebox and fire up the barbie. Because Aussies like to make you feel at home.
So that was the Paul Hogan one you alluded to. It was kind of easy. It was a huge name in America at that time, and that was specific. I've got to say, I didn't mind the Where the Bloody Hell Are You ad. I just thought it got the landmarks well in a bit of a different way. It got panned. Am I the only one that thought it wasn't a bad ad?
There's a few people that may have had a different point of view, but it certainly got people talking. And
yeah,
sometimes there's real benefit in an ad getting banned. You know, it creates a talking point. And that ad, Where the Bloody Hell Are You, got banned in both the UK and in Canada, albeit for different reasons. So the Canadians weren't happy with the use of hell, the word hell as an expletive.
Right.
And the Poms weren't comfortable with bloody hell. So it got banned in both those markets. I think they managed to negotiate to run it after a 9 p.m. watershed in the UK. But that was certainly a bit of a talking point. Obviously, of course, our ex-Prime Minister, Scotty Morrison, that was his big legacy
Yes.
when he was in the seat over at Tourism Australia.
Yes, it's been noticed a few times. So, I mean, I've watched a bit of British TV. I was over in Britain at the time, and I couldn't believe they thought that was going to stand out as offensive compared to some of the risque comedy shows and stuff they have over there.
Oh, well, there you go. There's the cultural nuances right there, hey?
All right, great to get your thoughts. We'll see how Ruby the Roo goes in that latest attempt to get people back visiting Australia. Jules Hall, great to get your thoughts today. Thank you.
Yeah, good to chat.